Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today is November. Whoopsie. October 20th, 2025. I'm all turned around, man. Holy smokes. This is a much anticipated question period and a much anticipated news day for Canada, given the fact that they've been off for, just about a week. And we got Poilievre, who's been, in the news cycle for what we would consider the right reasons, what mainstream media would consider the wrong reasons. Poilievre basically called for the arrest and jailing of Justin Trudeau. So, hey, that's good. But apparently the rest of the country doesn't quite like that. So we're going to have to wait and see how this does play out. But it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a really interesting question period because, of course, the Liberals are going to bring up the fact that the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, did the unthinkable. He did what no politician should ever do: undermine the Canadian system and the RCMP and our government. But we like that because we know it's corrupt. We know it's a scam. We know it's disgusting. And, well, we're going to have to just hope that something comes from this, because there's been zero repercussions, zero accountability for Justin Trudeau's behavior, for that, that whole government era. And all those people are still in right now, except Carney. But, he's got his own conflicts of interest, I'm sure will start to all come up. And, well, I don't know if he'll be arrested for it. Let's try to see what happens to Justin Trudeau first. So all I ask is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's all I ask. That's absolutely free to do so. People saying arrest Trudeau. That sounds amazing. Yeah, it sure does. Sure does sound amazing. Okay, we're going to start off with, I got quite a bit of Canadian news here lined up for us before question period begins. And we're going to start off with, well, Alberta's ban on electronic vote tabulators. That's kind of interesting. Here we go.
Joining me now to discuss is Lori Williams. She's a political analyst with Mount Royal University. Lori, good to see you. So let's talk more about the reasons behind this ban on electronic tabulators. What's behind it?
Well, presumably some people expressed concern about it. I expect that concern is based on some of the online information that's coming out of the United States. It concerns that these tabulators could potentially be hacked or something like that. But the reality is we're using paper ballots. And if a paper hand count were required on a recount or something like that, that certainly would be available. But unfortunately, this really delays and slows the count. It costs municipalities more money, and it is one of the policy changes that the government has made that is very unpopular with municipalities. The other one is the introduction of parties at the municipal level in Calgary and Edmonton, in spite of the fact that the large majority of Albertans oppose parties at the municipal level.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about how people feel. And as you point out, this kind of raises some doubts about the reliability of electronic voting. Is this what Albertans wanted or want?
Well, no, again, not something that we're hearing widespread concerns about. A lot of questions were asked from the government by municipalities and just by ordinary Albertans, asking why the change was made. And the Minister of Municipal Affairs simply said that he wanted to ensure that people did have confidence in the electoral system, not based on any concerns that have been raised in previous elections, not based on any concerns that are originating from elections that have occurred within the province. So again, this is coming from sort of filter bubbles online where people are concerned about the integrity of voting systems and the possibility of manipulating electronic voting of some sort. And again, if it were computer voting, I guess I could understand that some people might have concerns about that, but we're talking about paper ballots that are simply being run through a machine to count.
Okay.
And if there are any questions about the integrity, that can be checked.
Okay, so how long, Lori, will people have to wait to find out who their mayor or trustee is?
So the mayor results are going to be counted first. Those ballots will be counted first. So probably tomorrow night, Monday night, we'll have a better idea of what the results are for the mayor's race.
Interesting.
Although the advance poll votes may not be counted on Monday, then they will count the council seats, the votes for the councillors, and then they'll count the school board seats. So it could be Tuesday or even Wednesday before we know the full results.
Lori Williams, thanks so much for your time with us.
Okay, it looks like they're going to be scrapping the electronic voting. So that's good, right? Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with that one or not. That'll be pretty interesting, right? I guess there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of weird manipulation that can happen with the electronic voting from my understanding. So again, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. But I think that you have maybe a bigger movement at play if they do ban the electronic voting. It might just happen across the rest of the country at some point. Then we're taking a look at this very interesting story. Wheelchair basketball is a thing, apparently. I don't know. Let's have a look. I'm genuinely curious about this, so we're gonna look at this together.
Well, it is one of the best times of the year. It's hockey season, not just here in Ottawa,
And this
but right
isn't
across
satire.
the country for all types of players, including
This
those
is real.
with the Ottawa Power Wheelchair Hockey League. It's a group that's proving the love of game knows no limits. CTV's Josh Morano joins us live with more from the season opener. Josh.
Yeah, Austin, it's the return of a league that's all about teamwork, speed, and inclusion. The Ottawa Power Wheelchair Hockey League welcomed in even more players this year, and this
Anything that uses the word inclusion is just wacky, bro. I don't know what the heck is wrong with Canada. But like this inclusion DEI shit it's too much. We got wheelchair basketball in Canada. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Oh, I need a tissue. My eyes are leaking. This is so funny.
season is already off to a fast start. The sound of wheels on the gym floor and sticks clashing signals the start of another season in Ottawa's Power Wheelchair Hockey League.
This league has done so much for my sport world, but also for my life. It has gave me a purpose.
Schleier is a seasoned vet, playing his 13th season of the league. He says he's happy to see it continue to grow.
This is good,
welcoming
though.
in more
As much
players,
as it's
staying
interesting
active,
and kind of a
making
shock
new
to see.
friendships.
I've just stuck with it because I've gotten
Sports and camaraderie and competition, it helps people, at all levels. And so, giving people something to do is good. But I'm curious to know, since this is based off of, inclusionary aspect, at what point are you going to have able-bodied people pretend to be in wheelchairs so that they can play and stuff like this? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how, like, you have to do a walk test. I just feel like if you've got transgenders, like men that are playing in women's sports, at what point are you going to have able-bodied people playing in wheelchair sports? That's all. That's the only reason I find that funny in Canada. But that's cool. That's cool that that even exists, I suppose. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. I've never seen that. I thought it was a little funny on the surface. But there you go. Wheelchair hockey and wheelchair basketball is a thing. And then we got to take a look at this guy right here, because, well, the government is trying to appease Trump with a new border security announcement. And this guy's our security minister, and he's doing a pretty bad job of it. Let's have a look.
Are these efforts done in order to try and further appease Donald Trump?
No, in fact, these efforts were part of our platform, hiring 1,000 new CBSA RCMP officers. Let me just focus on CBSA, the announcement we made today, adding 1,000 new officers. If you look at trade we are expanding trade. There are a number of new ports of entry that are likely to come on board. If you look at Port of Prince Rupert, for example, it is expected to triple in terms of volume over the next decade. So there is really there's a real need to have additional people who are working at our borders. Right now, we have 10,000 men and women who are staffing the border with the RCMP and CBSA. This will be an additional 1,000 people through the CBSA front, and around 750 to 800 additional RCMP officers. This is about ensuring the safety and security of our borders, but also to facilitate trade as we expand trade across different parts of the world.
If the need is exactly as you spell out, why did it take 6 months to re-announce this?
Well, this is actually not an announcement of the program itself or the commitment. This is the program going forward. So starting within the next couple of weeks, we will be hiring and actually training people at Rego. We have resources available at the training facility. We have a number of people who are in a recruitment pool that we will be able to confirm that they are being recruited to the CBSA. And this is now about execution. It's not the announcement where we're saying we're going to do this, we're actually doing this. And this will be starting, as early as the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm meeting with the president of CBSA Monday morning to finalize the plans for the recruitment.
My question is, why wasn't this done under Justin Trudeau, right? Like a year ago, almost to the day, right? Like we're a month off. So 11 months ago was the American election, right? Start of November. Is that when Trump won the election against Camilla? And the moment he won the election, he said, Canada better clean up the border. He was already making moves before he even took office in January. And what have we done? Well, we didn't really do anything. Justin Trudeau just kind of postured. Danielle Smith is the one that deployed a bunch of Blackhawks or whatever helicopters to the border. She deployed more CBSA agents or whatever she did. She did more. She did more. That's all I know. But we've had over a year to really get this stuff done. And it's been a long time coming because we've known about our lack of border with the American border. We've known about our lack of attention to the border for years. And now, only now, when the president of the United States demands that we get this done, are we now doing it? The tariffs could have been avoided if we actually just cared about our country and fixed our stuff and made sure that our problems didn't leak into America. Because that's ultimately what happens, right? Fentanyl, crime, criminals, terrorists are coming into Canada and it's going into the United States. That's no bueno. Not good. Not good from the snow Mexicans up north. Not good at all.
Of the new 1,000 RCMP officers over the next CBSA officers over the next 5 years, and we will be executing it forthwith.
So just to be clear, it's 1,000 over 5 years?
That's correct.
Is that enough to meet the need? And I ask because it was not a year ago that I was interviewing your predecessor at the time, Minister Dominic LeBlanc, about the CBSA, the union representing CBSA officers who had long, almost for 10 years, called for additional resources at the border, saying they simply did not have the ability to keep up pace with criminal activity or trade, as you point out. They were calling at the time for 2,000 to 3,000. I remember the minister dismissing that out of hand and saying that's what unions do. They ask for more resources. Now you're conceding that there are some additional resources needed, but 1,000 over 5 years, is that really going to make a dent?
Yeah, that's...
Well, let me just speak about what we're doing. So the additional officers is in addition to the $1.3 billion we've invested at the border. So we were at Niagara Falls today at the Rainbow Crossing, and we saw the new technology that's being deployed for issues such as scanning and making sure that the CBSA has the top-notch tools to be able to do its job effectively. Additional measures that are part of the announcement today is the incentives for existing CBSA officers and incentivizing individuals to continue to be part part of the organization. So if you look at the 1,000 new personnel that were announced as part of our CMP yesterday, it does speak to the increased level of commitment, as well as personnel that will be staffing our borders.
Okay,
Even Vashi isn't pleased with this because they've been asking, been begging, the CBSA, Canada's border agents, have been begging for more resources. So Canada, instead of doing 2,000 or 3,000 agents, which is what has been requested, they're doing 1,000 over 5 years. Literally not enough. Not enough at all. It should be 1,000 right now immediately, and maybe 1,000 per year for 5 years. That would be enough. Not 1,000 over 5 years. This is insane. Canada doesn't know how to invest in itself.
Just before I let you go, Minister, I do want to ask you as well about India against the backdrop of your portfolio, the public safety of Canadians. A year ago, the RCMP was telling Canadians that Indian diplomats were committing crimes on Canadian soil. A year later, new diplomats have arrived. I just interviewed the brand new Indian High Commissioner to Canada. Do he or his colleagues pose a risk to the public safety of Canadians, Minister?
Let me just say that over the last several months, both the Prime Minister and Minister Anand have been, along with many of our security personnel, including the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, the RCMP Commissioner, Head of CSIS, have made some very important engagements with India, whether it's the G7 or last week's trip by Minister Anand. With the expectation that we were able to clear the air, and we were able to ensure that India is well aware of Canada's concerns and any form of intrusion into Canada's sovereignty or that impacts the safety and security of Canadians will not be accepted under any circumstances. Having said that, we are also in a world right now where we're engaging and expanding our conversations and engagements with other countries, including India, and I believe we can do both. We can engage India in a proactive, positive way vis-a-vis trade, but we can also ensure that this relationship is built on trust, and any issues where trust has been impacted, we are in the process of mending, and we're.
Dude, the trust has been impacted when Justin Trudeau immediately, without authorization, accused India of assassinating Nijar Singh, or whatever the hell his name was, out of the Gurdwap in Surrey. Remember that? He accused the Indian government of a political assassination on Canadian soil of a Canadian resident or whatever, right? That's crazy. Even if that were true, to make that accusation and then to continue business as normal with India afterwards, like, hey man, you killed one of my people, but like, let's still conduct trade and pretend like everything's fine, but we're still going to make these wild accusations. Either India did commit those really bad things and we need to revisit our relationship with India, or you don't make those types of accusations and then just continue business as normal. Like, it's kind of weird to do that. Justin Trudeau really screwed our relationship with India. A year ago, at the start of 2024, end of 2023, the relationship with India imploded. Justin Trudeau's plane got grounded trying to leave India. Then once he left India, started attacking them verbally, saying that they're horrible, that they politically assassinated a Canadian resident, like all this stuff, man. It's weird. And then also Canada harbors all these Palestinian people, Palestinian terrorists, which are deemed terrorists, quite literally, in India. And we're supposed to be really good allies with the largest democracy in the world, which is India, but we harbor their terrorists. Like people that want to cause death to India. We're like, hey, yeah, come live in Canada. What's the worst that can happen? It's weird. It's weird. Canada's relationship with India is stained, and it's avoidable to reach this point of a stain. But here we are. I don't understand these politicians. Literally, the Liberals, they take something good and they mess it up every time, just flawlessly. Perfectly, they mess it up every single time. It's an art, really. It's truly a freaking art form. Oh my goodness. Anyways, now we're going to take a look quickly at this CBC interview, I guess, with Rosemary Barton and the Premier of BC. Let's have a look.
With the United States are going in the right direction. And for now, he's holding off on any further retaliatory measures. Mark Carney wants to keep the dialogue going with Washington, choosing not to further escalate the trade conflict. But in another blow to Canada's economy, new U.S. tariffs took effect on lumber last week. British Columbia's Premier is calling for more attention for that province's forestry sector, saying federal support has fallen short. BC Premier David Eby joins me now. Nice to see you, Premier.
Nice to see you too.
So for some context, out of all of the Canadian leaders, there's only a few that have called for retaliatory tariffs against America. Doug Ford, the big fat guy from Ontario with rabies, okay, frothing at the mouth. He was like, we're going to shut the power off to 1.4 million homes in America. We're going to rip all the American liquor off our shelves. We're going to boo their anthem. We're going to stick it to them. We love America, but fuck America. Okay, that's what Ontario did. Our Prime Minister of Canada was like, we're going to keep our elbows up and we're going to stick it to them. And then his elbows went down. And this communist right now on the screen, David Eby on the right, big Dumbo ears, looks like Woody from Toy Story, but depressed, deflated, like Buzz Lightyear is no longer his friend. He was calling for retaliatory tariffs to America because Trump bad, Orange Man bad, America really bad. He wanted people to boycott, actively called for people to boycott America. Don't go travel to America. Canada's beautiful. BC's beautiful. Stay here. He ripped American liquor, I believe, off of the shelves. He stuck it to America and was trying to stick it to America further. And now he's on CBC to, well, let's have a look what he's saying.
You are obviously very concerned about the increase to softwood tariffs that went into effect this past week, and you have said that you don't believe the federal government gets it when it comes to softwood. Do you have the impression that the attention is being paid mostly to central Canada, to Ontario and Quebec and the auto industry, and that the government is not dealing with the softwood tariffs? What is your impression there?
Yeah, I mean, let's take a step back and just so all Canadians understand what we're dealing with here. Russia right now has better access to the U.S. market to sell softwood than Canada does. And I don't think any of us expected to be in that situation. This is one of the country's biggest industries. And I think we all looked on with disappointment. And
okay, first of all, what in the hell kind of condo is this? This lamp is like gold slats or something. That's kind of weird. Then there's a big white egg over his left shoulder next to the microwave on the other side of the kitchen island. What was that? Why does he have an egg in his kitchen? An oversized egg? Is it, like, that's not a chair. What? It's just a big dome. What a goof. This guy is so goofy, man.
Sadness and anger at the Stellantis decision and the impact on auto workers. And that's a big deal in Ontario.
Oh, it's a chair?
And it should be. But it's important for Canadians to know that if you look at the auto parts sector, if you look at the primary steel sector, you put them together.
I'm too poor to know what that is, I guess.
And it just does not get that resonance. When I hear the federal government talking about what are they dealing with at the table with the Americans, it's steel, it's aluminum, and it's energy. And for some reason, it's just not softwood. And there's an opportunity here for a shared win. It's got to be at the table. We can't send aluminum to the Americans and not say we have to fix the softwood issue too.
Okay, but auto is also not on the table right now. The deal that they are trying to seek is on, as you said, steel, aluminum, and energy. I mean, they have to find a way forward on something, and they've started with this. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they're saying softwood won't be resolved. It's just not the first thing that's going to be resolved.
No, and I guess, when we look at $500 million in immediate support for steel plants in Ontario, emergency cabinet meeting about the Stellantis decision, and yet there's 10,000 jobs in British Columbia in the softwood lumber sector. And we're just not seeing that kind of anxiety and energy going into it. And there should be high anxiety and energy. This is a major sector. There are huge knock-on effects across the country, including in Ontario. when softwood's not working, and we need that level of attention, including for the money to flow from the $1.2 billion that the Prime Minister committed to the sector.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to say. They have put that in the window, the $1.2 billion. The industry minister says it will flow soon. What have you been told about why it hasn't and where it's at?
Well, we celebrated the announcement, and I think that at the time, a real reflection of a shift that I think is happening, actually. I don't want to be entirely critical under the Carney administration. I think they are looking west more often, but it's so easy to drift back into focus on central Canada. And so we have to stay on top of it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing hard for British Columbians, but also all Canadians that are working in the softwood sector to make sure that we are on the agenda. And we're going to have to keep pushing on that. The explanation is just that they're working through how best to distribute the money, and it needs to happen now. These companies are on a knife's edge. Shifts are already being curtailed. People are already losing employment, and the work needs to be deployed now.
So you haven't been told when that money will start flowing?
We're told soon, and it needs to be soon, but we're still working with the federal government on it.
You know, it is obviously your job as Premier to fight for your industry and your workers. I wonder, though, whether you are concerned with presenting sort of a divided front right now at a time when there are negotiations happening, not on the sector.
Okay, I'm getting confirmation that it's not an egg. I'm getting confirmation that it's not an egg behind him. It's not an oversized egg. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but in reverse, it's a chair. Okay, over David Eby's communist left shoulder, it's an egg chair. It's a pod. He might have taken it from Facebook headquarters. It's a safe space is what it is. And apparently it's thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. He has an egg chair safe space that's cut out. I don't know if the yolk is in it. Maybe he's the yolk because he's certainly a joke. And it costs thousands of dollars. Crazy, right? Crazy. And that's the leader of British Columbia. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. We want retaliatory tariffs against America. We don't want retaliatory tariffs against America. We want retaliatory tariffs against America. We don't want retaliatory tariffs against America. Donate to the NDP. I need more egg chairs for safe spaces. I don't get it, man. These people are ridiculous. They keep ruining our country, our municipalities, our provinces, everything. And somehow brainwashed people keep voting for them. Like, the guy is not good for British Columbia. Anyone who's been calling actively for, like, we're going to stick it to America with retaliatory tariffs, you're a goof. You're an idiot. Canada is tiny. We're the little Chihuahuas up against a Rottweiler, German Shepherd combo. Come on. What are we really going to do? We're just going to bark? No. Come on. You kicked my dog. You kicked my dog. We're going to get kicked by America. That's not good. It's not good. But that's my opinion. Again, who knows? David Eby did call me a right-wing extremist, so maybe I am, or maybe he's a goof. Let me know what you guys think down below. And speaking of goofs, we got to take a look at the No Kings protest that took place in America. Now, there was one in Canada. Of course, it wasn't necessarily called No Kings because Canada responds to the king. It was called No Tyrants. But ultimately, it was a No Kings protest. You can't make this up. I haven't even seen this yet. Let's have a look.
Can you give us a sense of what's happening at your protest site right now?
Yeah, so we're actually just kicking off here in Mountain Time over in Denver, Colorado. I'm standing in front of the Denver Capitol Hill. And so we have people completely covering the Capitol Hill lawn. And we're about to have several speakers here today as well.
It looks like a decent-sized crowd behind you there. We've seen rallies in more than 2,500 cities. Why do you think so many people are showing up for these rallies across the country today?
So these rallies are made for every American. It's not a right or a left issue. We're protesting authoritarianism in America. We're protesting what the Trump administration is doing here. We're exercising our free speech. And over the last several months, we've seen escalations from the administration that attack everything from education to healthcare to our free speech. And so we're here today to really say and stand together. This is America. This is our democracy. And Trump has certainly overreached his executive powers.
He literally hasn't overreached any executive powers. He's been a phenomenal president, and he's solving a lot of the issues in America when people are told through mass amounts of funding, because these protests are funded from somewhere, that that they should hate him. And so they go out and they protest him and they hate him. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. But anyways, speaking of weird, we're now going to take a look here at one of the weirdest people in Canada. Elizabeth May. Elizabeth May breaks her silence on the fact that Pierre Poilievre called for the arrest and jailing of Justin Trudeau. Now, this woman here is part of the Green Party, which is barely even a party in Canada anymore. And she's known for being, you know, under the influence at certain times. Her nickname is Dizzy Lizzy, because the wine, you know what I'm saying? And she goes on a rant saying that Pierre Poilievre is, well, I'm not going to paraphrase. Let's watch.
Elizabeth May, Green Party of Canada. I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt compelled to speak out at Pierre Poilievre's latest, outburst that seems to have come from the pages of Project 2025. It certainly didn't come from the criminal code, with the notion that former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should be in jail if not for the quote-unquote despicable leadership of the RCMP. First of all, I did go to law school. Pierre Poilievre didn't. People think there are too many lawyers in politics. This episode makes it really clear, as far as I'm concerned, not enough lawyers in politics. You have to know something about the law before you spout off that a former prime minister should be in jail. Why? Was there a criminal code offense that the RCMP covered up? No. The report of the late Mary Dawson, the Ethics Commissioner for Canada, she reported in 2017 that she believed Justin Trudeau had broken the ethics code by accepting the Christmas vacation the year before on the Aga Khan's private island. I'll be honest with you, I never bought it at the time. I didn't want to be going in front of the microphones to defend Justin Trudeau's vacation, but it was entirely subjective. And I wondered how it was that the Ethics Commissioner decided that the Aga Khan was not a family friend. Now, the details are clear. Pierre Trudeau and the Aga Khan were friends. Justin Trudeau knew the Aga Khan since his earliest childhood. If not for Mary Dawson's subjective finding that the Aga Khan did not meet the definition of family friend, there was no offense here. Now, there's misuse of potentially of using the planes, but even if every element of the ethics code was proven, which I don't believe it was, even if every element had been proven at that time, this was not a criminal code offense. So where is Pierre Poilievre's notion that the former prime minister should be jailed? It's deeply worrying, because this is the kind of thing going on right now in Trump's United States. Political enemies can become then persecuted through law enforcement, and you end up having former colleagues, friends, associates of Donald Trump. Once they're no longer friends, they should be in jail. I don't like that kind of language in Canadian politics. I don't like it coming from anyone. But I do think for the Canadian public, it needs to be clear when somebody is evading the law and when they're not. So again, in the instance of the SNC-Lavalin affair and the improper pressure brought on our former and quite noble former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Honourable Jody Wilson-Raybould, I still think that the RCMP should have pursued its investigation into what really took place there. But we actually don't know whether Justin Trudeau applied the pressure or not. We only know that the former clerk of the Privy Council office, Michael Warnick, did. So these things, again, is there a criminal code offense here? Even if all the elements were proven, should someone be in jail? And what does it advance Canadian society to refer to the RCMP leadership as, quote unquote, despicable? So I think Pierre Poilievre should reconsider his language, withdraw those words, and apologize.
Okay. I have absolutely no idea what she just said. Gun to my head. I can't tell you what she just said. I have no idea. No idea. And my my reading comprehension might be lacking, but I can retain stuff from video. That's just like the era I grew up in. And I have no idea what Elizabeth May just said. Something about Pierre not having a law degree. Something about Trump's. What the fuck did she just say, dude? Somebody please let me know down in the comments. I feel like an idiot. I have no idea what she just said. None. Oh my goodness. People are saying word salad. Dude, there's something, but that wasn't normal. That was not normal at all. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm dizzy now. I got secondhand dizzy from Lizzie. Holy shit. I'm actually dizzy from laughing. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. All right, folks, we're going to tune into question period now. Let's have some fun, huh? All I ask is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. What a segue, huh? Going from Elizabeth May to question period, from not knowing what she's saying to not knowing what all the politicians are even trying to say. All right, here we go. Secondhand dizziness.
And that of millions of Canadians of Italian origin who have made significant contributions to our country. On behalf of the Canada-Italy Interparliamentary Group, I invite all my colleagues to join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. for a reception on the theme of Italian language, language beyond borders.
Speaker's dining room in the presence of His Excellency Alessandro Cataneo, Ambassador of Italy to Canada. It will be an opportunity to reaffirm the deep and lasting friendship between our two countries, and yes, there will be Italian food.
The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, for generations, families in Windsor have been beating heart of Canada's auto industry, building not just cars, but hope, stability, and opportunity for countless Canadians. That hope is being tested today. While auto workers are wondering what the future holds, this Liberal government is refusing to release the Stellantis contracts, the very documents that could show whether the promises made to our community are being kept. Canadians deserve accountability, responsibility, and transparency. They deserve to know if their tax dollars are protecting Canadian jobs or simply adding to corporate welfare with no accountability. Mr. Speaker, Windsor has carried Canada's industrial future on its shoulders for over 100 years. Our people have done their part. They built the engines, the factories, and the future. Now it's time for this government to show some integrity and do its part. It must release the contracts today.
The Honourable Member for Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie. Mr. Speaker, today I'd like to highlight the beginning of Diwali, the Festival of Lights, celebrated by millions of people all around the world, including right here in Canada. Diwali is a time of rejoicing, spirituality, and renewal. It symbolizes the victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. It's also a time to gather with family, share meals, light lamps, and renew community ties. I'd like to wish a happy Diwali to all those who celebrate it in my riding of Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie and all across the country. May this holiday bring you peace, prosperity, and light. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for York Durham.
The Prime Minister is fond of giving Canadians so-called economic lessons, as though he alone commands the keys to wisdom. Well, let me share with him a lesson from the unforgiving school of real life and reality. When governments run huge deficits, they unleash the scourge of inflation. And when inflation rises, it strikes at the heart of our communities. The Georgina Food Pantry now feeds twice as many families because they can no longer afford to feed themselves. But we have 4 simple things the government can do to reform themselves and reverse course in this upcoming budget. Eliminate the industrial carbon tax on farm and fertilizer, get rid of the fuel tax on the trucks that deliver our food, and scrap the industrial carbon tax, scrap the food packaging tax, and stop printing money. The Prime Minister is fond of giving lectures, Mr. Speaker, but unfortunately, he remains stubbornly unteachable.
The honourable member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to welcome a new local newsroom serving Coquitlam, Port Moody, New Westminster, and Burnaby. It's called The Freshet, and their first edition went online on Sunday. Local news is not a luxury. It's how neighbors learn what councils decide. It's what local sports team won the game and which small businesses recently opened. The launch follows a community effort to save the local news after local newspapers closed. 4 veteran reporters stepped forward with a plan to build trusted coverage. I thank Janice Clue, Cornelia Naylor, Mario Bartel, and Teresa McManus for their leadership and service. The Freshet will value verification, reflect our diversity, and ask tough questions to make public policy better. I welcome that scrutiny and will keep an open line. Congratulations to the Freshet.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
In 10 budgets, the Liberals doubled debt, doubled lines at food banks, and doubled the cost of housing. Every dollar that the government spends comes out of Canadians' pockets. And fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker. Has the government learned the costly lessons that its deficits and taxes increase the cost of living? And will they reverse these inflationist policies in their budget? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we'll be talking about those issues quite a bit in the coming weeks, but last week, the Leader of the Opposition questioned the independence of our legal system, of the police, and the integrity of police officers, the police officers who put their lives on the line to protect us. Today, he has the opportunity to make amends in an honourable way before this House. In the next 30 seconds, the Leader of the Opposition has the opportunity to make amends. Will he do that?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are trying to distract Canadians from their inflation with their corruption, Mr. Speaker. They now have 4 inflationist taxes on food. The industrial carbon tax, which applies to equipment on farms. The packaging tax at grocery stores, the diesel standards tax, and their inflationist taxes. Canadians can no longer pay their bills. They can't afford their groceries. Will the Liberals reverse these inflationist policies so Canadians can eat? The Honourable Government House Leader.
A lot of opportunity to talk about the taxes, the imaginary taxes that the Leader of the Opposition comes up with. But last week, the Leader of the Opposition put into question the independence of our judiciary, of the independence of our prosecutors, of the police. In fact, the very police that put their lives on the line to protect him, Mr. Speaker. The Leader has the next 30 seconds to make amends, to apologize, to tell the people of this chamber and this House that he is sorry for what he said. We don't do that in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Liberals are trying to distract from their inflation and rising cost of living by talking about their corruption. This will be the 10th Liberal budget. Already, they've doubled the debt, food bank lineups, and housing costs. Every dollar the government spends comes directly out of the pockets of Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, and house themselves. Their fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker. Will they learn these costly lessons? Will they cap their inflationary deficits and get rid of their insane taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is inventing scenarios to distract from the story. The Leader of the Opposition has had 2 opportunities to apologize to the RCMP, our judges, and our legal system. He has refused to do that. In terms of inflationist spending, so-called inflationist spending, from the opposition leader, well, he still hasn't suggested one single way to cut or identified what spending, what support for which Canadians he thinks is inflationary, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, tragically, 3,000 auto workers in Brampton learned that the Prime Minister had sold them out and failed them in negotiations with the United States of America. To make matters worse, this Liberal government and this Liberal finance minister forked over $15 billion, tax dollars, to the company that is moving their jobs south. So surely the government would have negotiated a jobs guarantee for every single Canadian Stellantis employee. Will they release that guarantee and the entire contract so Canadians know where their dollars went?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, of course, what Stellantis announced for the Brampton plant last week was completely unacceptable. And Stellantis has made solemn commitments to this government and to their workers, and they need to honor their commitments. And that's why we will hold them to account. While my colleagues are just right now talking, we already know that in committee we said that we would agree to the production of documents. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canada got dumped and can't deal with it.
Stellantis would not be announcing that it is moving a 3,000 worker plant to the United States of America if this government had negotiated job guarantees in that contract for $15 billion. To put this into perspective, $15 billion is $1,000 for every single family in Canada that was supposed to create jobs. So simple yes or no question. Is there an ironclad guarantee of every single worker's job here in Canada in exchange for that $15 billion handout?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Industry.
That's a good question.
Mr. Speaker, let me be extremely clear. We will fight for these jobs because Canadian auto workers are the best auto
G.I.
workers in the
Jolie.
world. And we will make sure that Stellantis faces all consequences, including legal ones. That being said,
There won't be any
an hour
consequences.
ago, I met here in Ottawa with the head of Canadian Stellantis, with the head of Unifor, and also with the Minister of Economic Development of Ontario. We're one strong team, Canada, and we will make sure that these jobs stay in Brampton.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There's nothing Canada can do. It's already done.
Still no answer. It was the finance minister, the present-day finance minister, who is in charge of a $500 billion forthcoming Liberal budget that was the one who signed this deal. And amazingly, barely 2 years after he signed it and forked over 15 billion Canadian tax dollars, the company receiving it is moving the jobs to the United States of America. That minister claims she might take legal action. She can't do that unless there's actually a job guarantee. So will she tell us, yes or no, does every Canadian Stellantis worker have a job guarantee?
No, the answer is no. They do not have a job guarantee.
Mr. Speaker, when this government negotiates contracts, they're good ones. And so my colleague will have the chance to see these contracts. That being said, we will make sure to put full pressure on the company. These jobs need to stay in Brampton. These jobs need to stay in Canada. And ultimately, the future of the auto sector is bright, and we'll continue to fight for it.
Bravo.
No, the auto sector belongs to America.
Member for
Unfortunately for Canada.
Mr. Speaker, the preacher Uthman Ibn Farouk is giving speaking conferences across Canada despite
There's
his
nothing
history of
Canada
hate
can
speech.
do about
For
that,
example, he believes
unfortunately.
it's acceptable to capture women and turn them into sex slaves. This type of rhetoric
What
has
the
earned him a
hell?
ban from the United Kingdom and even from Canada, but he'll have no problem repeating these remarks in his video conferences because they're protected by the criminal code. In fact, the criminal code exempts hate speech from consequences if it's made in a religious context. Will the government finally abolish this religious exemption? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she knows very well, hate speech has no place in Canada. The federal government has a number of tools to fight hate speech, and we will do everything that we can to work to ensure that Canadians are free from this kind of speech. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, UQAM quickly banned a conference by the preacher on its premises, and we must applaud that decision. But fans of hate speech, misogyny, homophobia, and more will still be able to attend 7 of his conferences across Canada and even in Quebec in Brossard. This rhetoric has no place in Quebec or in Canada, yet the federal government protects it under the Criminal Code. When will the Liberals finally have the political courage to abolish the religious exemption that allows hate speech? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague has noted, there is a conference that was cancelled because it was hate speech. We have a number of tools, and we've tabled a bill in the previous Parliament to fight online hate speech. I will work on this issue as Minister of Heritage, and we will continue to work to fight hate speech in all its forms across the country.
Hey, hit the like button if you guys haven't yet already.
Mr. Speaker, the federal government is speaking out of both sides of its mouth when it comes to hate speech. Canada has banned Uthman Ibn Farouk because of his hateful comments. It's true, he's too dangerous to be allowed into the country. We agree. But these same hateful comments are protected under 319 of the Criminal Code. It's allowed in Canada to engage in hate speech if it's done under the guise of religion. Mr. Speaker, if the preacher's speeches are hateful enough for Canada to ban him from entering the country, does the government not agree that they're hateful enough to be prohibited under the Criminal Code? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, beyond the bill that we tabled in the previous Parliament on hate speech online, in Bill C9, which is before the House right now, Mr. Speaker, which is going to be debated in the coming weeks, there is an element that is specifically focused on hate speech. The federal government is very proactive on this question, and we will continue to be.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Prime Minister's broken promises are costing Canadians. The Prime Minister said he would lower grocery costs for Canadians, but in fact, food prices are rising twice as quickly now as they did under Trudeau. And it's because of the Liberal hidden taxes on food. And it's not imaginary. The Liberal government's own analysis said their food packaging tax increased costs on Canadians by $1 billion. Wow. A Deloitte study said it would increase fresh produce costs 34%. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food, or will he break another promise to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, good news for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Prime Minister announced that we're making the school food program permanent. So I take from the question of the member opposite. That means, Mr. Speaker, that Canadian kids all across the country are getting good quality food at school, saving families about $800 a year at the grocery store. But I hope from the nature of that question, Mr. Speaker, we can count on the party opposite to support this budget.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
But it was the Liberals who voted against scrapping their hidden taxes on food. And now we have 1 in 4 Canadians not knowing where their next meal is coming from. Bans on plastic food packaging, front-of-pack labeling, those will increase the cost of fresh produce 34%. The Liberals were warned these policies would increase costs on consumers, and those warnings were heeded. There is 4 million Canadians going to be forced to use a food bank this year, up 345% from 2015. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food so Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Minister of
Make food affordable.
Mr. Speaker, most Canadians know or ought to know that there isn't tax on food, and in fact, these are imaginary taxes. You know what's not imaginary, Mr. Speaker? The $8,000 in the Canadian family's bank account for a child under 6 that will be deposited today. Something that those Conservatives have voted against time and time again. When they have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to make life more affordable for Canadians, they vote against the interests of Canadian families time after time.
Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told Canadians to judge them by the prices they pay at the grocery store. So let's do just that. Sherry, a senior in Cambridge, wrote to me this week. She sent a photo of her grocery receipt, $197 for a few basics that won't last the week. The cause, hidden Liberal taxes like the industrial carbon tax on farmers who grow the food. These taxes are buried in everyday essentials. Runaway Liberal spending has turned the grocery aisle into a luxury lane. With the budget coming, Canadians like Sherry want to know, will the government axe the hidden taxes and rein in the spending so they can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister.
Question.
Mr. Speaker, every time there's a chance to stand up for Canadian families, these Conservatives vote against their interests. Whether it's increases to seniors' benefits, Mr. Speaker, voted against it. Whether it's ensuring that food costs remain low for Canadians, voted against it. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect governments to work on their behalf, and they know they can't trust these Conservatives.
The Honourable Member for
We
Cambridge.
can't trust you.
Mr. Speaker, same old answers. Let's talk about those so-called programs. 9 out of 10 kids do not get fed by this failed food program. The Liberals take food away from families to instead feed the government's constantly expanding bureaucracy.
Hit the like button, folks,
if
if you
those
haven't
programs
already.
were working, then food bank visits would be going down, not up. Since this Prime Minister took office, beef strip loin is up 28%. Sugar is up 19%. Apples are up 13%. These aren't luxuries. They're everyday essentials being priced out of Canadian diets, forcing kids to go to bed hungry. So I'll ask again, will the government finally listen to the evidence and stop their reckless spending so families...
The Honourable Minister.
You know what, Mr. Speaker, when you visit food banks, one of the things they ask is to make the school food program permanent. And we listen, Mr. Speaker. That's what responsible governments do. We work with partners to make sure that we have programs across the country that reach hungry bellies. And that's what we're doing, saving Canadian families on average $800 a year. But these Conservatives vote against families time and time again. Mr. Speaker, they literally take food out of kids' mouths.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are feeling the financial squeeze not just at the pumps but across the board. While the Liberals claim that these are imaginary taxes, the truth is they're hidden fuel taxes on buried regulatory fees and carbon pricing, quietly driving up the cost of groceries and transportation. These aren't just line items. They're daily realities for working families in Kitchener Centre. Will they axe their 17-cent fuel tax on their upcoming budget so Canadians can finally afford to live?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
While the Conservatives continue to suggest these imaginary taxes exist on food, we are ensuring that there is real food for real bellies. Children in schools get fed. They vote against feeding children, while over here we're ensuring that children have the food that they need, that Canadians have the support that they need, while they continue to suggest imaginary taxes and work against Canadians' interests.
Imagine thinking that an entire civilization or entire
Prime Minister
country
said he should be judged
has
on
to be
grocery prices.
sucking at the teat of
And
the
it's clear
government
that his taxes,
instead
like
of
the
affording
packaging tax, are
groceries on
driving
your
prices
own.
up.
Instead
And
of being
it's
able to
hidden
afford
from you,
life
Mr.
on your
Speaker.
own,
These
the
taxes are
government's
so
like, nah,
sneaky that they're built
rely on
right
us.
into the prices you see. They don't even
It's
show
weird.
up
It's
on your
backwards.
receipt.
It shouldn't
but what
be
we've
that
now
way.
learned, Mr. Speaker, is that the packaging tax will cost Canadians $1.3 billion by 2032. Can the Prime Minister put an end to these hidden taxes on food so that Quebecers and Canadians can afford to eat properly?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The opposition is talking about imaginary taxes. What we're doing on this side of the House is we are delivering for Canadian families. We've delivered a national school food program for kids across Canada, and our government will continue to be there to help families and children. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les-Etchemins-Lévis. You know, we're not living in the same world, Mr. Speaker. There will be over 4 million visits to food banks this year. That's a 128% increase under the Liberals. Here in Quebec, the organization Les Frigos Pleins has provided more than 1,600 emergency food deliveries in just 4 months. That's almost half the total for all of last year. The industrial carbon tax, the food packaging tax, clean fuel regulations. These are all measures that increase the cost of transporting, producing, and marketing food, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister said he should be judged on grocery prices. Does he realize, Mr. Speaker, that the judgment is in and it's not in his favor? The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Canadian Federation of Teachers has said that it's fantastic news concerning our school food program. That program is now permanent, and they thank the government for making it a priority. We are there for families, for children, to help with the cost of living. This program is putting over $800 in parents' pockets by helping them with food. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois has made 6 demands for the upcoming budget, which can be summarized as follows. Quebec must be given the means to take care of Quebecers. There has to be an increase in health transfers without conditions. Given the cost of living, we need an increase in old age pensions for people aged 65 to 74. We also need to reimburse Quebecers for the $814 million that the federal government stole from us to give Canadians election bribes in the form of fake carbon rebates. Those are our conditions. Will the government respond to the needs of Quebecers? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, you'll allow us to be a little bit perplexed on this side of the House. First of all, the leader of the Bloc Québécois said that it was unimaginable that they could support the budget. And now the Bloc has come up with a series of non-negotiable demands, so maybe there's some openness on that side to support the budget. I think, Mr. Speaker, that the Bloc Québécois should
Let's see the budget first.
Read the budget and then make a decision. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, this budget must also allow us to meet the great challenges of our time, and that includes housing, which requires a permanent transfer to Quebec without conditions for the construction of social and community housing. There's also access to home ownership, which requires loans for first-time home buyers to cover the down payment. There's also infrastructure, which requires a new unconditional transfer to Quebec. These budget requests are unavoidable because the challenges are unavoidable, Mr. Speaker. Can we count on the government on November 4th? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, Mr. Speaker, as a member for Gatineau, I can assure you that Quebecers are already counting on the support of this government when it comes to housing. We have very strong agreements with all of Quebec. We have put in place a new program which allows young people to ensure that they have the funds they need to buy a new home. We've acted across the line. We didn't need the Bloc Québécois to ask for that because we have 42 strong MPs from Quebec, and we know what Quebecers want and need in the budget, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. His finance minister was industry minister for the same Trudeau government that doubled the debt and promised that it would lead to more investment. The result? The worst per capita GDP growth in the G7 and more than a 10% drop in investment. Now the Prime Minister is set to double the Trudeau-era deficits. Will the Prime Minister keep his promise and keep the deficit under $42 billion?
Well done.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the members opposite have been, but over the last week we've announced a series of affordability measures, automatic tax filing, school food program. We've got taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've got the GST for first-time home buyers. Interest rates are down. Mr. Speaker, we were elected on this side to build the strongest economy, most resilient economy in the G7, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
Then why is life still so damn expensive?
Clark.
Mr. Speaker, if more government spending was the solution, then Canada would have the most prosperous economy in the G7. The result, we have the slowest in the G7. The Liberals can call it all they want. They can call it the government spending, government investment, the fluffy kitten fund. The result is the same. It comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Once again, will the Prime Minister keep his promise and keep the deficit under $42 billion?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on November 4th, we are going to table the most transformational budget in our country's history. We're going to spend less. We're going to invest more in nation-building projects.
The most amount of debt, probably.
In homes. Mr. Speaker, we are elected on this side to strengthen our economy. We've got a leader who is serious about the economy versus a leader who's never worked in the economy. Mr. Speaker, we were elected to deliver for Canadians. That's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians were told that borrowing billions would make their lives better. But 10 years later, the only thing growing faster than the debt is the cost of living. This year alone, they have to refinance $473 billion in debt, and that will only get harder if this government keeps spending like the bill will never come due. You can't spend your way out of inflation. So will the Prime Minister keep his word and hold the deficit under $42 billion in the next budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
The Conservatives keep talking about cuts that they want to make to programs that Canadians rely on. They keep expecting us to make decisions that would take food out of children's mouths, Mr. Speaker, that would ensure that seniors have no old age security. We know that on their record that they vote against increases to seniors' benefits. We know that they have a record of pushing the retirement age higher and cutting benefits and leaving seniors behind. This is what they want us to do on this side of the House. We won't do that, Mr. Speaker. We will stand up for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
When a family can't balance its books, they lose the trust of the bank. When a government can't, it loses the trust of investors. And that's dangerous when we have to refinance $473 billion this year alone. If Canada looks reckless, borrowing will only get more expensive and every Canadian will pay the price. Canada needs a budget that shows fiscal discipline, but our current finance minister is the same guy who helped Trudeau double our debt as the industry minister. Will this Prime Minister show some fiscal discipline and commit to not exceed his $42 billion promise in the upcoming budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
That was a great question.
We are investing in Canadians. We're investing in a future that ensures that Canada is the top of the G7 countries fiscally, whereas the Conservatives want us to achieve economic goals that will ensure that children don't have food in their bellies when they're at school. They want us to achieve the economic goals that they're looking for on the backs of Canadians. These are real programs, Mr. Speaker, not like the imaginary taxes that they keep referring to. These are things that Canadians really rely on and will ensure that all of us have what we need to position ourselves for the future.
Honourable Member for Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been a CPA for 26 years, and I've worked with Canadians as they navigate their personal taxes and finances under fiscal mismanagement of this Liberal government. Budgets do not balance themselves, as the Prime Minister knows well with his background. So there is no excuse to continue the fiscal disaster he inherited from his predecessor. My question is simple. Will the Prime Minister keep his promise and ensure the deficits will not exceed the outrageous $42 billion deficit of Justin Trudeau?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Who wants to bet that it's going to exceed the deficit of Trudeau?
I didn't hear the mic didn't seem to be on. Could the member start from the top, please?
Canadians know that this government was elected with a strong mandate to build the strongest economy in the G7. And I know that we're on the right track. You know how I know? Because the experts say so. I know the opposition members may not agree, but who said Canada is fiscally sustainable? Former Parliamentary Budget Officer Kevin Page. Who said Canada is attracting the attention of global investors around the world? The CEO of our largest pension plan. Who said diversifying trade and investing in infrastructure will boost productivity? The Bank of Canada Governor, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Oakville West.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-12, Strengthening Canada's Immigration System and Borders Act, which is before the House today, reflect our government's commitment to protecting Canadians. By expanding border security resources, fighting transnational organized crime, stopping the flow of illegal fentanyl, and cracking down on illicit financing at the border, while supporting our frontline officers and reinforcing the integrity of our immigration system. Could the Minister of Public Safety tell Canadians how this critical legislation enhances our ability to protect them and keep our communities safe? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the member for Oakville West for the very important question. I also want to thank her for the hard work that she does with Halton Regional Police. I had the opportunity to visit her last week, Mr. Speaker. From January 1st 1st to September 19th, CPSA seized close to 2,600 grams of fentanyl, 770,000 grams of other opioids, 662 firearms, and over 11,000 prohibited weapons, Mr. Speaker. Bill C-12 will enhance law enforcement's ability to do their work, as will the additional 1,000 CPSA and RCMP officers we'll be hiring to keep Canadians safe.
All right, folks, hit the like button.
Kildona and St. Paul.
The Liberals signed a $15 billion deal to
Hey,
subsidize
put the W's
Stellantis
down
to
for
produce
Raquel.
electric vehicle batteries in Canada, promising it would secure Canadian jobs. But now planned production for Brampton is relocating to the U.S., and 3,000 jobs are at risk here in Canada. At the same time, Stellantis has announced $13 billion of investment in the U.S. that will create tens of thousands of American jobs. So under Liberals, taxpayers are subsidizing a company that's moving billions of investment and jobs out of Canada. How could the Liberals make one of the biggest corporate subsidies in Canadian history without a Canada-wide jobs guarantee?
Yeah, she's on point.
Honourable Minister of Industry.
Decision by Stellantis to move its production from the Brampton plant is completely unacceptable, and that is why, this morning we were with the Conservative government of Ontario, with Unifor, with Stellantis, to make sure that we would be one strong team Canada, because we need to make sure that the 3,000 jobs in Brampton are back. So I hope that I can work with my colleague, with all the MPs in this place, because we need to be Canada strong on this. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildona and St. Paul.
The fact is, Canadians are paying $15 billion for EV battery production. It's a 100% subsidy for those batteries, Mr. Speaker, but there's no public evidence the Liberals have secured job guarantees for the broader Stellantis footprint here in Canada. There are thousands of auto sector jobs on the line here, Mr. Speaker. Canadians deserve to know, in exchange for $15 billion of their tax dollars, did the Liberals secure a guarantee to protect every single Stellantis job in Canada? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, I know my colleague is very interested in this issue, which is normal, and of course this is my #1 priority right now, but she already knows the answer. The documents will be presented and produced before the committee, and of course I'll have access to the information. My goal is to make sure that we work together, because we need to fight as one Canada strong on this issue.
Oh, there you go again with the weird propaganda.
St. Paul.
I'm very interested to know what the Minister of Industry knows about these contracts. Perhaps she can answer this simple question. How many Canada-wide jobs did the Liberals guarantee for $15 billion that they gave Stellantis? How many jobs? Can she tell us?
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, let me be extremely clear. The auto sector in Canada is victim of unjustifiable and unjustified 25% tariff by the American administration, period. Meanwhile, the auto workers are trying every day to make sure that they develop the best product on the face of the earth. And that's what we'll continue to help them to do while we're facing trade tensions with the American government. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, we will work with Doug Ford's administration, with Unifor, as one Canadian team, because we need to do it for the sake of our country and the sake of our workers.
The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Our auto sector just got
Mr. Speaker,
decimated.
after Stellantis was handed $15 billion for an EV battery plant in Windsor, they have now sent 3,000 jobs from Brampton to the United States. In my community,
How the
workers are
hell
now
does a
worried about
private
their own
company
jobs. How are
outsmart
they
an
going to pay
entire
their
government?
mortgages? How are they going to feed their family? Canadians deserve transparency about these multi-billion-dollar contracts they paid so much for. Can the Liberals even confirm that their contract included a Canada-wide jobs guarantee for workers? Or will they continue to cover up for their incompetence?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, the decision by Stellantis is not only completely unacceptable, but we'll make sure to hold them to account. And that's why we'll make sure that we use all the full force of the law should the company doesn't bring the production back to Brampton. Meanwhile, the documents will be produced before committee. My colleagues will have access to it, and we'll make sure also, obviously, that all forms of support for Stellantis is being checked into, because obviously we need the workers to be back in Brampton.
Honourable member for Ottawa.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister failed to negotiate a win with President Trump, and Canadian auto jobs are on the line. Stellantis was handed $15 billion, and they've now announced they're moving 3,000 jobs to the United States. The current finance minister negotiated
Hopefully
these
some of those
deals and bragged
Canadians
about it.
can
And
be
now
able to
these auto
cross the
jobs have
border and
left
go
Canada
work
for the
at the new
U.S., and he
American plant.
refuses to be transparent.
That's a lot of jobs.
Liberals are hiding from the Canadian auto workers
But
they
the auto
sold
sector
out.
is
Simple.
100% going to be
Is there
dominated
a
by America. We can't
Canada-wide
compete.
jobs guarantee, yes or no?
No, there's no jobs guarantee. Stellantis found a way out. They outsmarted the Canadian government. What's done is done.
Canada-U.S. trade.
Mr. Speaker,
it's
just because
unfortunate.
our colleague asserts with great indignation a series of conspiracy theories does not make them true. Mr. Speaker, what is true is our government is standing up for Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. The Prime Minister met with President Trump in Washington 2 weeks ago. We have engaged in a series of conversations and negotiations
And when the president met
precisely
with
to get a
Carney,
deal that's in the
he
interest
said,
of all Canadian
we're
workers,
competing
including
for the auto
workers
sector.
and other sectors of the economy in every region of the country. Mr. Speaker, that's the work that we're doing every day.
It's like a Starbucks opening up across Tim Hortons.
And the result of that meeting of
That's
the
what's going
Prime
on between
Minister and
Canada and
President
America.
Trump was the export of 3,000 auto workers' jobs from Canada into Trump's America. Talk about failure. Meanwhile, this finance minister signed a $15 billion deal for jobs with Stellantis in Canada. It was supposed to include money to retool those plants. So what we keep asking, it's simple. If there's actually a job guarantee in this contract, and if there isn't, it's absolute negligence, why don't they just tell us how many jobs will this contract guarantee for Canadian auto workers?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague knows very well, as my colleague, the Minister of Industry, has indicated, all of that information, of course, appropriately will be put before the parliamentary committee. Mr. Speaker, just because our colleagues on the other side assert some falsehood with great indignation doesn't mean that it's accurate. What is accurate, Mr. Speaker, is our
falsehoods,
government
bro?
is standing up with
Stellantis is
the
gone.
province
They
of
left.
Ontario, the government of Premier Ford, to defend these workers, to defend all sectors of our economy. That's the work we do in Canada. That's the work we're doing in Washington. And, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to do that work.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
That is unbelievably cold comfort for the
They found a
3,000
loophole.
auto workers and their
Yeah.
families whose jobs have vanished to Donald Trump's America after the Prime Minister's meeting with Donald Trump. They have to think, how am I paying my mortgage? How am I going to put food on the table? And these are the kinds of answers these Liberals give. It's a very simple question.
That's true.
$15 billion
Stellantis
went to
made that announcement
Stellantis. And
after
in that
Carney met with
$15 billion,
Trump.
if you had a clue how to negotiate, you would have included a guarantee of Canadian jobs. We don't need to wait until these contracts are released. This member should know the answer. Is there a job guarantee for Canadian auto workers? Yes or no?
No, let me be very clear. There is no job guarantee.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that our Conservative colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't like to work with Premier Ford and his government. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will work with all premiers, every political stripe, groups representing workers and businesses, precisely to defend those businesses from the unjustified tariffs imposed from the American administration. We'll do that work in Canada, Mr. Speaker, and good news, we're also doing that work in Washington, D.C.
Our entire auto sector is being poached by America, and there's nothing that Canada can do about it.
He's
It's
10 years ago, this
unfortunate.
Liberal
It
government was
sucks.
elected on a commitment.
It's not
one
funny.
Specific
It's sad.
One. It would
The
run
only
very
funny
small
part is how
deficits
bad,
and then balance
you know,
the book.
how bad of
during its first
negotiators
term.
the Liberal government
a
truly
promise
is.
that generated
But it's
investment here in
affecting
Canada.
thousands of
10 years later,
Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, what about this promise?
Thousands
Liberal
of
debt
Canadian
has doubled.
families.
And Canada has the lowest growth in the G7 per capita. Will this Prime Minister at least keep his promise so that the next deficit will not exceed $42 billion
The only thing that I could see moving forward that would be a really good business move is if
Government House Leader. Obviously,
we
the member
somehow
across the
convince
way
Trump
will have to wait for the
to
budget
have American businesses operate in Canada,
see the figures and
necessarily
investment
pay
that will
full
stem from
Canadian
this. But what we
tax,
have said
but just
during our election
extend
campaign, and it
basically
remains our
American
commitment,
land and
is that we
American
will
businesses
spend less
into
to
Canada
invest
and
more.
employ some
We'll build
Canadians.
Canada strong and focus on major projects, on job creation in all regions of this country, and the member across the way is invited to read this document properly that we'll be presenting on November 4th. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-Le-Lobinière. I'll translate what he just said. He talks about generational investment that will cost future generations and for 10 years, they've been promising their deficits will encourage investment in Canada. But the finance minister
if you guys haven't yet already, hit the like button.
Has done nothing but run up deficits with his spending policies. Since this prime minister has been elected, we're talking about tens of millions in investment that has fled Canada. Will this prime minister stop this crazy spending spree and at least keep his promise of keeping the deficit under $42 billion? The Honourable Government House Leader. What is striking, Mr. Speaker, is that this member has risen and talked about inflationary spending, but he never identifies what exactly is the inflationary spending. Is it the Breakfast Club? Is it the enhancements made for seniors to their benefits? Is it daycare? What is the inflationary spending that he speaks about?
Honourable Member for Humber River Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I was thrilled to hear the Government of Canada's announcement on the Build Canada Homes initiative. This transformative program is a bold and critical step towards making housing more affordable for Canadians by accelerating the development of affordable homes all across the country. I had the honour of attending one of the many announcements in Toronto and saw firsthand the excitement and hope that this program is bringing to all of our communities. Could the Minister please give the House an update on the great work that's being done under this housing initiative?
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
My honourable colleague for the question, and we know Canadians urgently need more affordable housing, and Build Canada Homes is set to deliver that. We just announced last week the first Build Canada Homes project, Arbro Downsview, which is 550 new homes. Wow. This project is a perfect example of how we're making real progress using innovative construction materials, prioritizing Canadian materials to build faster and smarter, ensuring Canadians have access to affordable housing. And that's just the beginning, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
While Canadians are tightening their belts to make ends meet, this government keeps running up record deficits. This Prime Minister's reckless spending and record-breaking deficits delivered the worst per capita growth in the G7, and investments in workers are down by 10%. Now this Prime Minister is set to double the deficits, even beyond what Trudeau planned. Will this Prime Minister ensure Canadians that this deficit will not go over $42 billion in the next budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I know the party opposite may not like it, but let's look at some facts. Strongest credit rating in the world. AAA credit rating from S&P and Moody's. Lowest deficit in the G7. Lowest debt level in the G7. Lowest net debt to GDP in the G7. Biggest potential in the G7. Mr. Speaker, the leader opposite said he was going to bring it home. He didn't bring home the election. He didn't bring home his riding, and half his party want to send him home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, this kind of reckless spending is just breaking the backs of our children and grandchildren. For 10 years, this Liberal government promised that billions in deficit spending would lead to more growth and investments. Now the results are in. Canada has the worst per capita growth in all the G7, and billions in investments
I thought we were the best in the G7.
every single month that this Prime Minister remains in office. So when will this Prime Minister tell Canadians just how much more he plans to impoverish future generations?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservative leader continues on auditioning to be opposition leader, we are focused on building the strongest economy in the G7. Canadians on April 28th had a clear choice between two leadership styles, one with world economic experience and business experience. The others never worked a day outside of this
World
House.
Economic
Canadians
Forum,
made a choice. They went with our side to build the strongest, most resilient economy in the G7, and that is exactly what we're going to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
The honourable member for Beauce.
Don't remind
Mr.
me.
Speaker, for 10 years, the Liberals have been promising that their deficits would drive investment. The result? The lowest growth in the G7. A drop of more than 10% in investment and a declining economy. Every dollar spent by the PM comes directly out of Canadians' pockets. Mr. Speaker, the people of Beauce deserve better. And after doubling the debt, the Liberals are now preparing to double the deficit. Mr. Speaker, on November 4th, will the Prime Minister keep his promise to hold the deficit under $42 billion? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition had 45 minutes to think about whether he wants to apologize to the wonderful men and women who work to defend Canadians every day and that work at the RCMP. He attacked the integrity of our national police in a way that is totally inexcusable. Why does the Leader of the Opposition not take a moment? He says he supports the police. Why doesn't he not take a moment to apologize to the men and women who serve Canada through the RCMP rather than attacking their integrity?
The honourable member for New Westminster.
Well, the RCMP is covering up a lot of weird stuff about Trudeau. We Charity, SNC Lavalin, you know, list goes on.
Mr. Speaker, every community has been affected by the crisis of toxic drugs and overdoses, and those in British Columbia are no exception. Earlier today,
this is a member of Parliament.
This government
like
announced
15
support for 40 projects in Western Canada that would give communities more tools to respond to critical emergencies and provide care for people struggling with addiction. Can the Minister of Health explain to the House how this government is working with communities to fight the drug crisis? The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, no community can tackle the drug crisis alone. We have a cross-government approach, and we are participating in solutions. The projects we are supporting today will save lives. One of these projects is the Dr. Peter Centre in Vancouver, which has a proven track record of helping people struggling with addiction. The centre will offer services in this area, and fighting the drug crisis shouldn't be based on ideology, but on various action that is evidence-based and not ideology.
Mr. The Ring of Fire project in Northern Ontario would be a game changer for our region at a time we desperately need it. Yet the Prime Minister continues to delay by refusing to move forward with the project. That would create thousands of jobs, that has billions of dollars in investment. The project did not make the cut on the Liberals' project list, and the road won't even start until 2028. When will the Liberal get shovels in the ground and finally get the Ring of Fire project approved and underway?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised the member didn't ask about cap paper because, in fact, Ontario and Canada have worked together to give cap paper the breathing room, bring back its employees, and keep those employees hired while the mill looks for new business opportunities. In his riding, but all across Northern Ontario. Mr. Speaker, we're going to be there for industries that are hard hit, including pulp and paper, including mining. And Mr. Speaker, this is the great honour that we have to work on behalf of constituents.
The Honourable.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's just the B team now. Nobody that we even know their name of is up to bat. That's where we're going to end it. We're going to just we're going to trim the fat. Okay, we're not going to watch the rest. Sorry if you were looking forward to to talk, but nothing else is interesting now. It's all, everyone who needed to speak has spoken. All I ask is for you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I've already posted the Pierre Poilievre, main piece on the channel. So if you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend you guys go and check that out, because he is calling for Justin Trudeau to be jailed and be held accountable for all of his crimes that he committed while Prime Minister. And I'll see you guys same time tomorrow for another stream. Bye for now. Enjoy your day, folks. Bye-bye.